The Russian military captured activists, relatives of Ukrainian servicemen, civil servants, teachers and other civilians. The testimonies of women who managed to get out of the settlements occupied by the Russian occupiers are documented by human rights activists.
They were simply caught and then put in prison cells without any conditions. From 10 to 40 women were held in prison cells, which can hold 2 or 3 people. We know that many women were shaved, especially those who were sent to the territory of the Russian Federation. Others were simply not allowed to take a shower or brush their hair. They were not provided with any medical assistance.
Thousands of cases of captivity, torture and killing of civilians by the Russian military have been recorded by the General Prosecutor's Office of Ukraine. Human rights activists say that each case will be investigated and charged individually. However, it is more and more common to talk about genocide of Ukrainians, as the Russian army mocks and kills people precisely on a national basis.
If I'm not mistaken, the General Prosecutor's Office has already initiated more than 35,000 criminal proceedings. It is clear that this is a huge number of proceedings, and even the most effective General Prosecutor's Office in the world cannot effectively investigate each of these 35,000 cases during the war. Unfortunately, we cannot rely only on the International Criminal Court, because with its policy it is limited to investigating only a few selected cases. Alexandra Matveychuk, chairman of the board of the Center for Civil Liberties, human rights activist.
Such crimes have no statute of limitations, and work on them can take years. According to human rights activists, there are different methods of collecting evidence of the crimes committed by the Russian army in Ukraine. For example, a UN human rights mission has been working in Ukraine since 2014. An independent international commission of inquiry on Ukraine, as well as the Moscow mechanism launched at the OSCE level, started working since the start of the full-scale invasion. But all these institutions cannot deal with criminal proceedings. A special international tribunal should punish the highest military political leadership of the Federation, because then the source of aggression will be brought to justice.
The top leadership of the Russian Federation, Russian President Vladimir Putin, and the Russian Security Council, all those who started this aggressive war should be sent on a dock in this tribunal. By the way, not in 2022, but since the invasion of Crimea, the occupation of the Crimean Peninsula, and the start of the war in Donbass in 2014. Since this is a new tribunal, of course, this requires resources, persuasion of our partners, and the formation of a legislative framework for such a tribunal. Now work is underway on it. There are already resolutions at the level of the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe and at the level of the European Parliament that support the creation of such a tribunal for the crime of aggression.
Human rights activists are confident that if the Kremlin escapes punishment for its crimes, aggression could spread to other countries.
We have the third round of unpunished crimes by the Russian army in Ukraine, and in fact we see that at each new stage the scale of these crimes is growing. That is why it is now very important to mobilize all the efforts of Ukraine and the international community in order to stop this war, in order to punish war criminals.
At the same time, the Kremlin continues to deny war crimes committed by the Russian army. The evidence of torture that law enforcement officers received during the exhumation of bodies from mass graves in the deoccupied Kharkiv region was called a lie there. Putin's spokesman Peskov claims that all the crimes of Russian army in Bucha in the Kyiv region were also fake. According to experts, a special international tribunal can become a mechanism that will bring to justice every guilty person: the executor, the one who gave orders, and the one who covered up the killings of peaceful Ukrainians. Reported by Serhiy Kulyas, Larissa Zubenko, UATV News.